So you distribute your negative combined like terms. And try to put your real portion first. So your real component is the 2 minus 12, which would be negative 10. And then plus 6i plus I would be plus 7i. Multiplying is going to be the same way you multiply polynomials. Negative 14 minus 35i plus a 6i plus 15i squared. But then, like we said, there cannot be an exponent on any I in your final answer. So these will combine, and this will be a negative 1, which will make this whole piece negative 15. Yes? So then negative 14 combined with negative 15 would be negative 29, and negative 35i plus 6i will be negative 29i. Any questions on that? How do you simplify something like this? What's the problem with it? Why is it not already simplified? Stephen? Very good. Just like rationalizing radicals, we rationalize imaginary numbers to get them out, because I is technically the square root, right, of negative 1. So you technically have a square root in your denominator. So we're going to rationalize by, and since the denominator was a binomial, we multiplied by the conjugate. So in our numerator, we have 14 plus 35i plus 8i plus 20i squared. And in the denominator, again, the beauty of conjugates is that outers and inners cancel. So 2 times 2 is 4. Your outer and your inner product cancel. Negative 5i times positive 5i is negative 25i squared. And then we have to clean it up. So this plus 20i squared becomes what, Haley? Negative 20. So negative 20 combined with a 14 is going to be negative 6. Combine your i's. You're going to get plus 43i. And then your negative 25i squared is going to become plus 25. So 4 plus 25 is 29. Now, in this next example, I start it because I think we need to discuss and then see which is the correct way of doing it. So if I multiply these radicals first and then simplify, I'm going to get, what happens if I multiply them first? I get root what? 100. And the square root of 100 is 10. So if you multiply first and then simplify, you get 10. If you simplify first, you get, what's that? 5i times 2i, and you get 10i squared, which is negative 10. So we need to discuss or talk about which is correct. Did you talk about this last year? No? Okay. So you guys, I guess you would just be guessing if I asked you to take a vote, right? Or does anyone think they know for sure and have a good explanation as to which one is correct and why? Connor and Adam. Connor, what do you think?
Negative 10 because you have to do a square root first and square root square.
So I think I know what you're trying to say. In PEMDAS, you think you need to do the square root first because that is technically an exponent step, and then prior to multiplication? Yeah. Never heard that argument before, but I think it makes sense. Adam? So but that's still simplifying first. But why simplify first versus multiplying first? So this is the right answer. I don't know why. It's just the way the math rule is, but I think maybe that is why, Connor. I think I like that. I'm going to pretend like that's definitely the reason why, and I'm going to sell it with conviction. Because it makes sense. I like that, Connor. Well done. Maybe that is why. I just always thought, I was going to tell you that I don't know why. It's just it is what it is. That's the rule in math. You do it, you simplify first. But maybe you're right. I like it.
Square root 1/2 x squared.
Does that make sense? I think you might have nailed it on the head. Next example. So again with this one, because there is the square root of a negative there, we should simplify first. So that would be -1 plus I root 5. Yes? Squared? Which would be, if you square that out, you're going to get 1 times 1 is 1. Your outer is going to be -I root 5. Your inner is going to be -I root 5, which is going to make -2I root 5s. And then your last term is going to be I root 5 times I root 5, which is 5I squared. Is everyone good with that? I root 5 times I root 5 is I squared times 5. And then from there, this 5I squared becomes -5. And when you combine 1 minus 5, you get -4 minus 2I root 5. Now, there are certain situations, and I know we obviously just talked about the importance of it because it did make a difference in the last one. There are certain problems where it really won't make a difference, and I almost wonder if this is one of them. If I had just squared right away, I would have gotten 1 minus radical -5 minus another radical -5 would be -2 radical -5. And then radical -5 times radical -5 would just be -5. So that would have given me the -4. So this one, it actually wouldn't have made too big of a difference. Do we see that? So it's not always going to bite you if you do it in the wrong order, but sometimes it will, which is why I wanted to show you that previous example. Okay, last one is kind of like what you might get halfway through the quadratic formula. -25, it would normally be a plus or minus, but then square root of -50. So simplifying this first is going to be root -25 root 2. Is that everyone good with breaking it up that way? So -25 plus, this would be 5I root 2 divided by 15. And then we all know we cannot reduce with the 15 unless both terms are divisible with a common factor, which they are here. Everything is divisible by 5. So -5 plus I root 2 over 3. All good? Please don't be a lot on the back. Oh, good. Here is a solving a quadratic in simplest form. It's going to be complex numbers, obviously. You're not given the quadratic formula. Hopefully you don't need it. Zach, I hate to put you on the spot, but what's the quadratic formula? Is your headphone in your ear? Take it out, please, and tell me the quadratic formula. Did you say the square root of b squared minus 4ac? 6 side note. I taught my 2.5-year-old the quadratic formula song. Yeah, you will. I'll take a video of it and I'll show you. Because there's a cute little song to Popo's the Weasel. and he was, every song lyric he was just singing, and I was like, how did he remember those words? Like, I don't even remember lyrics like that, so I decided to take advantage of it. He's playing with blocks, Josh. He's singing a song as far as he knows. He doesn't know what it means. So the opposite of b is 2, plus or minus the square root of, what's b squared here? 4. I don't ever like to write negative 2 squared because half the audience ends up writing negative 4 and the other half ends up writing positive 4 because they don't keep their parentheses around the negative 2, so I just assume square it before you even plug it in there. Just don't make that mistake. Minus 4, A, C, all over. Same thing with 2 times A. I'll just get that out of the way and make that 6. So my discriminant, do you remember that word? Discriminant? That's the expression underneath the radical. Ends up being 4 minus 12 times 4, 4 minus 48, negative 44. And you should have talked about last year if your discriminant was a negative number, right? Then you have, obviously, imaginary roots. 2 imaginary roots because you can't take the square root of a negative number and get a real answer. So I would split this up into root negative 4 root 11, which is going to make 2 plus or minus 2i root 11 all over 6. And then again, 2, 2, and 6 all do share a common factor of 2, so 1 plus or minus I root 11 all over 3. What number? Good? Okay. Why don't we have Adam, your row's going to do number 1. Alyssa, your column, you 4 are going to do number 1. Alyssa, you guys are going to do 2 and 3. Sorry. Josh, you're going to do 4 and 5. Oh no, 4. Wait, we have 6 things in 6 rows. What am I saying? Adam, you're doing 1. Alyssa, your row's doing 2. Josh's row's doing 3. Don't. Kendall's, right? Kendall's row's doing 4. Michelle's row's doing 5. And Nathan's row's doing 6. Let me see. Did you say you need help with one of them? I'll look at it. You know what that means? No. When you're like when your ears ring, that means someone's talking about you. It's a wise tale, obviously. So why did your last term become negative root 3?
I squared.
No. I root 3 times I root 3 is I squared times 3. 3i squared. So it should be negative 3.
Okay, that makes
Okay, here's number 6, just evaluating when you're plugging in a 1 minus 2i. So 1 minus 2i squared minus 2 times 1 minus 2i plus 5. They square it out, check their work. Any thoughts? 1 minus 4 minus a 2 plus a... Okay. Do we like that? They did a little bit of work in their head. Negative 2i times negative 2i is positive 4i squared, which then became negative 4, which is fine. but just make sure you follow that. That all ended up being 0. Nice job, Nathan McMillan. Send that back. Here's number 5. What do we think? Take a minute to review. We like it. I think that looks good. They simplified, then they combined like terms. Send that back. This one, take a look at it. Look good? Any problems with that? Looks great to me. If you want to just write down their answers, you can. Then you could always go back. Or you could just watch the video and take a closer look. This one, when they squared it, raise your hand if you see any mistakes. That's a 1 here. That's a 1. That looks good. Nice job. Number 2. That's a nice job. They simplified, they combined like terms. Good. Any questions with this one? And the first one, are we going to be 6 for 6 here? He did that, and then he simplified because they were both divisible by 2. Good.
Should I get back to that?
Yes, please. What was the answer to number 5 again, Michelle? What was it? 19I radical 2. Good. Homework's there at the bottom. Your test grades are online. We still have some people that have to take it, so I